Yo, hello and welcome to the Get Started with Framer course. My name is Robin Lowe. I'm a certified UX designer and Framer partner, and I have several years of experience in UX, UI, and visual design. So if you're a designer wanting to publish and maintain no-code sites, or you're a web designer looking to add Framer as a skill set, this course is for you. In this course, we'll cover what Framer is and Framer essentials, web design basics, designing a Framer site, and publishing a Framer site. So at the end of this course, you'll be able to grasp web design basics and publish world-class websites without code using Framer. Alright, so what is Framer? Framer is an interactive design tool for websites and prototyping. You can start with the free plan, and there's also paid plans. It's also possible to import designs directly from Figma or Sketch into Framer. So Framer started out as a simple JavaScript library and then evolved over the years. 2015 Framer Studio, 2017 Framer Design, then Framer X, onto Framer Motion, Framer Web 2020, and the latest version, which we'll be covering, is Framer Sites, which was launched around 2022. So to use Framer, all you need is a compatible web browser, and you can also install the desktop app for Windows and Mac OS. Right, so to get started with the first exercise in our course, using a web browser, we'll visit framer.com, and on the site, choose Start, and once you're there, you'll get the option to sign up using Google or sign in with email. I'll continue with Google, so I'll select that. I'm signed in using my Google account. If you already have an account, you can skip that step and simply log straight into Framer. Right, so agree and continue. As it's a new account, you'll be presented with the tour. You can take the tour. I'll just skip that for now. So we're just going to start with one of these templates. I'm going to choose the simple landing, and if I select that, it will populate my landing page, and I've got this in desktop, tablet, and phone breakpoints. That makes it a responsive design, and we'll cover that later in this course. Right, so now that I have my page, so for this exercise, you just need to make one change as a minimum. So I'll just call this. So to edit that text box, I simply click on it, double click, and I can enter my text. I can also, just by selecting the text box, change the content in the properties panel. Right, so that's my change for my page template. Now I'm going to publish. Simply select publish. And there we go, and I'm going to preview my free Framer site with the frame.framer.app subdomain, making it a free Framer subdomain. And that's the end of the exercise. Alright, so let's cover some basics of Framer. To access most functions of Framer, you can use the Framer menu. To create a new site, you simply head on over to the Framer menu, and under there you can create a new site, or head on to the dashboard to create a new site. There's also the insert menu where you can insert elements, CMS, and page templates and sections. You have the layout menu where you can insert images, frames, and sections, and then you have your text tool and the CMS. When you are working on a site, you'll mostly be working in the layers panel, and you can select the tab for pages or assets as well. And then to your right you have the property panel. It's also a good practice to make use of keyboard shortcuts. Simply access it from the frame menu under Help, Keyboard Shortcuts. And to install the desktop app, simply visit framer.com and to download the desktop app. Framer also offers templates, free and premium templates, to help you get started. You can choose a template from the Framer website or within the app. It's also possible to sell your own templates. And to import from Figma or Sketch, all you have to do is download and install the plugin for either Figma or Sketch, then simply copy and paste into Framer, although some features may not be supported. If you want to make a responsive website, use breakpoints, and responsive web pages are great as they work well on a variety of devices. To add breakpoints is simple. You simply use the breakpoint button to add a breakpoint, and you're allowed to create an infinite number of breakpoints. The leftmost breakpoint is considered the main breakpoint, and changes made to the main breakpoint are inherited. Framer also makes use of components, and components are elements you can reuse across your design. That helps keep your designs consistent across projects. To create a component, select a layer or layers, then right click or use the keyboard shortcut. Components can only be edited in an isolated canvas, and you can copy and paste components across different projects. An instance is a copy of the primary component, and an instance inherits changes made to the primary component. And instances can be overridden directly or by using variables. And you use variants to further customize components. These are different appearances for the same contents, and variants can also transition to each other. So you can use it for a hover or press state, light and dark version, etc. And component variables. These are dynamic inputs that you can use in your component. It allows you to customize elements of an instance directly from the canvas. CMS also allows you to manage blogs and listings, and you can create a collection from scratch, or you can populate using sample data. To edit items in a collection, you simply select the item that you want to edit, and input fields for collection can be customized. And you can add CMS content into any page using the Insert menu. And you can also instantly generate pages with CMS content or an index. And links are automatically generated and ready to be selected. With Framer, you can also invite people to collaborate via email. You can design together in real time, share components and styles, jump to a location of an active profile, and cursor chat on the same page by pressing /. And to draw graphics in Framer is possible, as graphic layers contain a scalable vector graphic or SVG. To do so, you simply press G to edit or draw custom icons and illustrations. It's also possible to drag and drop SVGs into Framer. You can also prototype using Framer. You can create a canvas page to prototype ideas, draw assets, and you prototype using interactions between canvas elements. To publish your site, select Publish to instantly publish your sites. Publishing to a Framer subdomain is free, although publishing to a third-party domain requires a paid plan. It's also possible to preview your website before publishing. Simply press the play button to preview, or keyboard shortcut Command P on Windows Control P. You can preview in responsive or scale to fit mode, although custom page code cannot be previewed. And Framer optimizes your pages for great SEO performance. You can add meta titles and descriptions using the site settings page, and Framer has built-in analytics to track your overall site traffic. You can also configure your site settings, give your site a title and description, add custom code, password protection, social sharing images. You can also set up your custom domain and deploy versions of your site under the site settings. Framer also has version history, so you can view previously or to save versions of a project. You can go to a previous project and copy and paste into your current project, which you simply access via the main app menu or keyboard shortcut. Developers can also extend Framer's capabilities. Standard React and JavaScript are supported, and you can extend your site using custom page code, code overrides for any element, create code components, and Framer has a built-in code editor. To remix is when you create a copy of a Framer project. It's ideal for handing over a project. To do so, simply under the Framer menu, go File, Copy Remix Link to get a remix link. And you can share the link with anyone that wants to remix the project. Framer has released a few updates. As a course was filmed before these updates, my interface may look slightly different. However, the changes do not impact the course, so let's cover the updates as of March 2023. Breakpoints and components are now sorted by primary. You can connect domains easily using AutoConnect if your domain registrar supports it. Color styles have been updated to support dark and light mode, and the color styles are also listed under the Assets panel. And CMS now supports CSV file import. So before we start designing our Framer site, let's cover web design basics. HTML, or Hypertext Markup Language, defines the structure of your website content, and it is a markup language. CSS, or Cascading Style Sheets, is the code that styles website content, and it is a style sheet language. CSS layout is based on the box model, so that means that each content box on your page has properties like padding, border, and margin. And CSS page layout techniques control where elements are positioned on the web page. Some examples of layout techniques are flexbox, grid, and positioning. JavaScript is used to add interactive features to your website, and JavaScript is a programming language. React is a JavaScript library for rendering user interfaces, or UI, and it lets you combine them into reusable, nestable components. And the Framer canvas is based on the document object model and rendered with React. And if you're going to design, it's good to be familiar with the basic elements and principles of visual design. So the basic elements of visual design, these are the elements used to create a visual design. They are points and lines, shapes, color, texture, typography, and form. And the basic principles of visual design, these are considered tools to be used with the basic elements. And some of these basic principles are unity, gestalt, space, hierarchy, balance, contrast, scale, dominance, and similarity. And when designing sites, be sure to comply with Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG. There are 3 levels of conformance: level A, level AA, and level AAA. When using color, be sure to aim for level AA contrast ratio between 2 colors. And it's good practice to use alt text to describe the appearance of an image, although decorative and inactive text elements are exempt. Typography is the art and technique of arranging type. Arranged type must be legible, readable, and set the right tone. Weight defines the relative thickness of a font, and common weights are light, regular, medium, and bold. Weight can also be defined by using the numerical value range from 100 to 900. The baseline is an imaginary line. Each line of text rests on the baseline, although East Asian scripts have no baseline. Tracking or letter spacing is space between each letter in a word. And larger types such as headlines use tighter letter spacing. And kerning is the custom spacing between different letters. Line length is the number of characters per line of text. The ideal line length for body or paragraph text should be between 40 to 60 characters, although wider displays can go up to 120 characters with an increased line height. And line height, or leading, defines the vertical space between baselines. A design system provides consistent and reusable design patterns, and it helps unite designers, developers, and stakeholders around a common visual language, and it could accelerate the design process. It usually includes a pattern library, which is a subclass in the design system with a set of design patterns for use, and a style guide, which is also a subclass with color, typography, use cases for patterns, and so on. Now, responsive web design, that is when a web page adapts to the device screen size using CSS MIDI queries. And it's a more fluid approach than adaptive design and also considered user-friendly. In Framer, you use breakpoints to make web pages responsive. A lo-fi prototype. This is a wireframe or TDE illustration of an interface. It helps to clarify the way information is displayed and determine the function of UI elements. And you would rarely use color when creating lo-fi prototypes, so it will be black, white, and gray tones. And you would only use a generic font, maximum of 2 fonts. And a hi-fi prototype. This is a highly functional prototype with design assets completed. It helps to gather detailed feedback, determine the function of UI elements, and be more presentable to stakeholders. So as we're creating a landing page, let's cover the basics. So a landing page is a web page with a single purpose. So that is either to generate leads, for example, a newsletter subscription, or click-through. So that would be like, for example, sales. You would include the value proposition. So that would be benefit or solution offered, how you achieve it, and then you would also address objections, so that would be privacy, costs, etc. The typical visual hierarchy of a landing page has the title and subtitle, visual, social proof, call to action with visual contrast. Then below that you would have features and then you would also address objections. Then you can follow up again with social proof and a call to action. When starting a project, you would usually be presented with a design brief, so let's cover the basics. Design brief helps to capture the key details of a project, ensure that the client or stakeholders and designer both agree and understand what is required. It will include information about the client and brand, goals and objectives, target market and audience information, project deliverables required, and the budget and schedule. Right, so next we're going to design a lo-fi proposal of our Framer site. So the instructions are to design a lo-fi landing page proposal based on the brief provided. Then we'll add and adjust and test the tablet and phone breakpoints. And then once we're done, we'll publish and share for review. So before we get started, let's have a look at our brief. You should have the link to the brief. So essentially for the exercise, we're going to create a landing page in Framer. And this is for a fictional client called AI Mastery. And as we covered in Design Brief Basics, here we have all the basics we've covered. So we have overview, goals and objectives, and so on. And then also included, we have the structure of our landing page. It's written down. So we have our hero section with the content required, benefits section, FAQ, and our follow-up call to action, and lastly the footer. So included with our brief are the assets for the site. So we can click on this. So be sure to click on the remix link so you can remix the brief and get access to the assets. And once you click remix, just copy project to my account, and then you can get started from there with the lo-fi prototype. And so now I'm in Framer and I have that brief open. So This is very convenient as we have everything created within the Framer brief. So we have our assets which we can use, and this has notes. So here we have our image assets. So this will be for the high fidelity prototype or the final Framer site. We also have a style guide with a note, and this is also for the final site. And then we also have a mood board with a sticky note left by the client, which you can draw inspiration from. But we're going to ignore these for now. This will be for. And we're going to start building our Lo-Fi prototype, and we'll reference the brief. So we can either have the brief open within Framer, before you start, be sure that you understand the brief correctly, what's required. Hopefully you've read through the brief. So we're going to create a landing page for a Discord server, to market a Discord server and gain members. So you can start by creating a page within this brief, or you can create a new site. I'm going to create a new site. I can say new from template, but I'll just say new. Right, so now I have a new site. I'll call this AI Mastery. And if I zoom out here, I can see I have a desktop breakpoint on my canvas, but I want to create a low fidelity prototype based on the brief. So let me just go down to look at the layout. I need a hero section. So I'll start with the hero section. So I can choose to grab this hero section and insert into this. What I'm going to do is, to make things easy for me, I'll simply use the landing page template that Framer already comes included with. So let's have a look at this template. It already added all the sections I need. It has the hero section, benefits, FAQs, and the follow-up call to action and the footer. So most of my work is already done. I'm just going to add the rest of the content that I need. Refer back to the brief. So we're going to include the logo. Well, as it's a Lo-Fi prototype, we'll just have the word logo for now. Heading, so here we can copy directly from here. Copy, and then we'll paste that. So we could paste directly on here. But if you want to avoid formatting issues, it's recommended to paste in the properties panel. So we want the logo. So what we'll do is, we're not going to use these logos. So I'll just keep one logo and move it to the top. So let me just switch to the layers. I just need one logo. I just need the text, and I will move the text to the logo, and I'll delete this section. So there I have my logo, title, my H1 heading. I can also check, is it an H1? And I can see the tag H1 is being used, so that's my H1. My visual will be a ticker or carousel of images. As it's a Lo-Fi prototype, I can leave this here just to demonstrate. But what I'll do is I'll do something a little different. I'm going to move this out to about there. Place it below the header. I'm going to make this an position this as absolute to the top. Relatives 100. I'll take that up and make this viewport. And I'll change the Z index. I'll leave it as 0. I'll take the effect off there. I want this to be above it, so I'll change the Z index on this one to, I want the header to be above, so I'll change the Z index to 2. So it's above the placeholder. I also want to change this to be viewport as well. Right, so there we have our hero section complete. We have our visual. Oh, we forgot to add our text, so let's add our text. Large paragraph, join the community of AI Masters on Discord. And we already have a section for text here. Let's just zoom in. So I just move this placeholder all the way to the bottom. And I want that. And I'll simply paste text in there. And for the button, get started, I'm going to switch. And I'm just going to copy paste. And this needs to be a variable link. So I'll copy the text, the button, I'll turn this into a component. So I'll go create component, call it button, and now I can add styling to the button. I can add a variant, a hover or pressed state, but why I've changed that is because I want to make this a variable link. So create variable, it'll just be link, and I'll switch back to home. And now I can add any link. Right. So if I switch back to our brief, I see I've got that part of my section done. Now I need to add testimonials. Now I don't have testimonials, but I can go to Insert, choose the section, and I can choose the testimonial section. So I can simply drag that over there. Let's see, where does it place it? Place it just below header. Now, as I'm designing, I should always pay attention to my breakpoints. Here I can see that this is not the same as that, so I need to fix this, so that will be 0. Make sure that this one is correct as well. So let's go back to this section with our testimonials. Let's try and add this. I want to remove the padding. So I'll leave the testimonials like that. That seems fine. If I go back to tablet, I can see these are a bit narrow. I don't think I want them that narrow here. Let's switch to the phone. You can see, so that's fine. I want it stacked. Alright, so we'll leave the testimonials as they are for now. Copy these over from the brief. So here we have the first testimonial. Just copy that. I'll take that text, paste it in there. And then here we have the person, and I'll paste that in there. Now we have extra items that we can use. We've got or extra elements. We've got a placeholder for avatar and a username. So we could use that as well, but we're just going to hide that. So you can go use the hide or use the shortcut key. So I'll hide that. Avatar I'll keep for now. Let's move on to the next one. Let's copy that. Right, so our testimonials are done, but as you can see, they're cut off right now. So we'll fix that. We'll go back here. So if we look at testimonials, if you go under styles, we see have overflow hidden. Let's switch that to visible. So now the shadows should show up. But here we have an issue. You can also stack them on tablet as well. And change the height of each card to about I think 220. Yeah, switch them to 220 each. Right. So that's fine. Let's switch back to our brief and let's move on to the next section. So the next section is our benefits section. So this will have a H2 heading. So let's switch here. So here we have everything we need laid out for us. We have our heading, paragraph. We won't need a button, so we can delete the button. So let's copy over our heading and paragraph. Just switch that to full. Switch the grow to auto height. And if you look at our tag, this is an H2 tag, so that's correct. And we're going to duplicate one of these sections for another one. So Command D, duplicate. On Windows it would be Control D. Move this one there. Right, so that's our features section. Let's zoom out. So that looks fine on desktop. We can look at our tablet. Let's see if we need to make any adjustments here. It looks fine on tablet. And for mobile, switch that to fit content, switch this one to fit content. Right, so that's sorted on mobile. Next, we'll do our FAQ section. So here we have a component. So to make changes to the FAQ section, we're going to have to edit our component. So let's go edit component. Let's go down. Here we have 3 questions. And we have 3 here. So simply select that. Here we have our question and answer field. So let's just copy paste. Right, so that's all done. Let's switch back to home. And here we have our FAQ section. Now, one thing we haven't done throughout is to test. So to do a test while you're designing, it's always good practice to hit the preview button as you design. So this way you can see how is your design coming along. So we can see we have animations that we have our content. We can fix that. And we can test our responsiveness. Is it a responsive web page, landing page? And so far so good. We'll come back to the hero section and fix some of those issues there, but let's finish off the rest of the site. So we'll have our heading 2 just above the call to action button. And we'll just paste that there. Now, since we have the button already with the link created before, we can simply grab that button that we created and place it right there from the assets panel. And delete this button. And since we've created that component, it's all set up with a variable link. And then lastly, we have our footer. Now for our footer, we want to also make this a component. So we can just right click, keyboard shortcut to create a component. We'll call it footer. And as we did that, we've created our main footer. Let's switch back to home. And we can see that it's created a footer section, that it's responsive across desktop to tablet, so that's fine. Let's edit our footer. Let's add the content. Add that. Instagram will not be Instagram, we'll make it a terms, and we'll make it a variable link. So the content will be terms, and we want a variable link. So we will create a variable, and now it's just called link, but we want to name it terms link. And the same for this one. Links setup and our content. This should be, see, as we copied without going there, we copied over our style. So we don't want that to happen. So let's just switch that to white and leave that as that is for now. Right, so That's our site done. Our footer is correct. We can edit the component and create a mobile variant of the footer. So let's go here. Let's call this variant, and let's call this variant 2. So let's call variant 1 desktop and call variant 2 mobile. Come back to mobile. We want to have the width of, let's edit this again. Edit component, mobile is, let's make this 390. Can make it bigger, but let's just keep it simple for now. And we want to stack things. Maybe we'll stack this as well and have it centered. Switch that, and let's make this about 24, and this gap will be, let's make it 8, about that, and that's our mobile footer. So on this breakpoint, I'll switch it to mobile. Let's just preview it. Now this section, we want to have that match. So let's just go there, remove the full color, and we want to have the same effect that we have here, the appear effect. So let's just copy and copy effects, and let's place that on testimonials, paste effects. And let's preview that again. Just our background placeholder. So now we have our low fidelity proposal ready to be published and shared with our client or stakeholders. So let's just hit publish and see what URL we get. So we have our URL, and then we'll click on that. A bit more spacing. Let's just make this maybe 92. Let's try that again. Publish. Or make it just a little, like 86, and then publish. Right, so for now that's fine. We're going to have our visual on the hero. We have our testimonials and the hero as well, and then we have our features, and then we have our FAQ section and our follow-up call to action. Right, so that's our site done and ready to be sent off for review. Right, so now for the final exercise of the course, we're going to design a landing page based on the Lo-Fi layout and brief provided, test and adjust the tablet and phone breakpoints, then we'll publish and copy and share the remix link. Right, so now for the last exercise, we will turn our low fidelity prototype into a Framer site. So just to recap, we created our low fidelity prototype with our hero section, features, FAQ and follow-up call to A, and the breaking points for tablet and mobile or phone. And that was based on the brief, so let's just refer back to the brief. So here we have our brief. Now for the next stage, we're going to need access to the style guide, the artwork, and also for this exercise you can be as creative as you like, so there are no strict branding or guidelines. So to get access to that brief, you should already have it, but just to confirm, you select remix and you copy the project to my account, and under the canvas you'll have your assets and your style guide and the mood board, as mentioned earlier. Again, just to recap, what's nice about the brief is that it includes all the text styles already. So all the text styles that are here, heading 1, heading 2, 3, these are all included, as you can see here as well. And it also includes the colors. So the primary, on primary, all the colors that's mapped out on the style guide, you can find already included with this remixed Framer template and brief. So now switch back to the low fidelity prototype. I've created this in a separate document. I don't have access to all the style guides and colors. So here I've opened up the remixed brief in my Framer desktop app, and I can simply select everything and copy it over to my document by going to Pages, create a canvas, and paste it. The only thing is it won't paste the styles and the color styles, text and color styles. So what I'm going to do is, instead of copying it to there, I'm going to bring over the low fidelity prototype into this document. So I'll name this I'll duplicate this brief so I can also access it within the document. So I'll duplicate it, call it brief. And now I'll delete these two. Select, holding down Shift, delete. And then I'm going to bring over my low fidelity prototype which I created, select all by selecting Shift, copy and paste. So this is a demonstration of how you can also copy projects from one to the next. Right, so now we've copied that over. You don't have to do this, it's optional. I'm just going to duplicate that and as a reference the Lo-Fi prototype. And now I'm going to start creating the high fidelity project. So let me just have a look at this again, preview everything, make sure everything's working. So that's fine, although these three cards should be on a line, we will fix that. And everything else seems fine. So I just want to make this on a single line before I continue. Let's just try the tablet breakpoint, make sure everything's fine. That seems fine, everything copied over fine. The animations and the contents all fine. Right, so we're just going to turn this into our Framer site. These cards are wide, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply adjust them. Now I could turn these cards into components, but as we already have all the content here, I'm just going to go ahead and modify these cards. I'll delete the pictures, we don't need the pictures, and I'm going to make them about 300 each. I can also change things around, maybe move this to the bottom. And I can do the same for that one. And these cards, I think I want them to be about the same size. If I look at this one here, seems to be much, this doesn't seem quite right. Let's just go back to our brief, make sure that that one is this quote is not quite right. Let's fix that one. And we can switch this around. And the other breakpoints are not breaking. And then we'll just reduce the size of this. Those are our three quotes. And here we can also make this smaller on tablet. And phone seems fine. So let's just preview that. And we've got our quote, and just test the responsiveness of that. Yeah, so that's fine. Right, so now we've got our text styles and color styles. We're going to change the background. We're going to use, if we go just preview our style guide, these are color schemes. We want to use the background for our background and surface for backgrounds, and then we've got our primary colors, tertiary, and secondary colors. Right, so we can make use of that, and obviously we have our text style. So let's switch back to the home. Let's change its color to, let's choose background. And logo, it should be a component. So it's already included, simply drop that in. You can delete that. This will be our H1. This can be a large paragraph. We'll make it centered. And then the button, we will edit the button. So we'll edit. So this, as it's linked, we will simply unlink and replace all. and we want to update it so it matches our colors. Just make sure that's fine. We're going to use a primary color. The text will be a button text, and we'll switch, make sure that this is fit. And we're going to double the right and left, maybe. Give it a full radius, completely round button, pull button. And then we can also, while we're here, add a hover state and maybe just a simple, we can adjust the, give it a lighter, and maybe adjust the shadows so it's and then we can go back and we can test this. Next, we're going to add our hero background. So if we refer to our assets, here we have the note that these images are to be used for the hero section as a ticker or carousel. So that's what we're going to do. So first we're going to select our images. We can select these 3 columns, switch back to the home page, and then we're going to paste our images here. Let's just drag it over to paste it on the canvas. Now we don't need the placeholder anymore, so let's just switch layers, remove the placeholder. What we're going to do is we're going to add our interactive component, interactive ticker component, drag it onto the canvas. We're going to move this all the way to the bottom, and we're going to add it into a stack, and this is going to be set to absolute, and we'll make it 0, 0, and 0. Set the height of each ticket to about 400. Let's set it to 400. And then we're going to duplicate it. 1, 2, 3. And this stack is correct. Rows. I'm going to fit content. But let's fit to the viewport. Let's make it 110, maybe 110. And we're going to map all these. I'm going to link up the first column and then the second one. So let's preview that. Our 3 tickers, but it's moving a bit too fast, so we're just going to make a few adjustments, maybe reduce the opacity of this to about maybe about there. We want to slow down the movement, so let's go click on each one, and then we'll reduce the speed. So we want it to go that direction, maybe about 40 for that one. This one will go in the opposite direction, and then we'll make it about maybe 45, and this one we will have it also be 40. Alright, so let's see. Yeah, so that's fine. I can always make more adjustments. Just got our hover, our logo, and our cards. Right, so let's go and update our cards. So what we want to do is we want to have the background. So we're going to do each card separately, as we haven't If we made these into components, we would just have to update one, but we'll be doing each one separately. So we'll maybe give this a surface color, and then the text be a paragraph small, just leave it as paragraph, and this will change to feature. It's the same here. Now, as I made this too small, I'm simply going to adjust that. Just make sure it looks fine there as well. Right, so that is our testimonials complete. We can just preview that. Let's test the responsiveness. Now also the text is scaling. We can adjust that. We can remove the scaling for the text or keep them all the same. Just going to center everything. So I'll select on the desktop, center the paragraphs, center align. Now, to add a bit more interest to these testimonials, what we'll do is we'll add a feature. We'll add a big blur to them. So to do that in Framer, to access the big blur feature, you can go to Styles and choose Big Blur, BG Blur, Background Blur. So to ensure you have that option, just go to the Framer, and then you can go to View and ensure that Show Background Blur is selected. That will give you that option to add it. So View, Show Background Blur. So we'll add a background blur to these testimonials. So let's select that one, BG Blur, and then we can adjust it. Maybe that is fine. And instead of going to each one, we're simply going to copy style, and then paste style. Paste style, keyboard shortcut, Option Command V on Mac, and that added the background blur. So let's preview that. Let's just try and maybe increase the background blur to about 50. Maybe we'll see the effect later. Right, so now that that section's done, the hero section's done, we can move on to the features section. So here we just have everything we need for our photo and our text. So let's just switch back to the assets, picture, and our caption. Just copy this, take it from here, let's go to home, let's see this placeholder. I'll just paste it there and take out this one. We can also add a radius to it. Let's give it a 8, maybe 16. And we'll do it for the rest. In this section, we don't actually need a background. So let's just remove that as well. We'll make this a H2. Or maybe, let's see, H3. Maybe H3 is better, and we can also update the color. This will be a paragraph large or a paragraph, standard paragraph. Let's make it paragraph large. And maybe we want to change the color of this, so we simply go there. We're going to swap out the rest of the images. So to add a caption, I'll just select that, add a stack. I can use the text tool. A caption just below there. I'll just call it caption for now. And I'll move this into there. And I'll set this to a stack like that. And I want to set this to auto. On tabbed and phone. Right, and I'm going to just copy this, paste it. Now I can just go back, repeat the process. I'm just going to copy the alt text, and I'm going to add it to the image, and I'm going to add it to the caption. So let's just make sure that this is set to full, and I'm going to go like that and delete the last section. Set it to P small. Going to blend in nicely, so that should be fine. Okay, so then for that it's going to be the same, P small. Right, so that's that section complete. Let's just rename this ticker container. Preview this again. Yes, as added big blur, let's just come back to this. We forgot to remove our surface color. Right, so now we have our big blur. We have our section. We're going to add a bit more spacing here. And then we'll move on to the rest of that. So let's just reduce this section. Ticker container, let's make it 100. And that's fine. And that's fine. The gap I'll reduce to, let's make it 15. Make it 20. Let's move on to the FAQ section. We'll change this to a H2 and give it a color. And then we're going to update this accordion component. As this component, we're just going to edit it, unlink and replace all. And then let's see if we can edit that accordion. Let's try again. Right, so now we're going to change the background to primary container or secondary container. And we also want to edit this component. Change the font to paragraph and paragraph small. Change the color of this. Let's make it and we'll switch back. And that should be fine. So let's just test that out. Maybe make that a secondary as well. So let's go back. Let's edit component, edit component. Make this secondary. Preview that. We'll just have a look at that again. And we're going to update our button here. Let's do the next section. We'll remove the background. H2. And the button, we'll just copy it from the hero. So we'll just take the button that we have here. And then we'll hold down Alt and drag it there. And that should create a copy. And delete that button. Right. Footer, and we'll just update this component. Unlink and replace all. Choose the P small for this. Choose link. Everything that's linked, ensure that it's linked with a variable link. And maybe you want to change the color of this to maybe secondary container. Make this a surface. And that looks fine, so let's just switch back. Since we're already making use of the surface, remove the background. Alright, so that should be our site done. We'll just give it one more preview. Just reduce the opacity of the ticket container, maybe to about that much. Right, so the site's done and ready to be shared. We will publish and we'll preview the result. Our Framer site is ready to be launched. Also preview on mobile and tablet. Once you've done that and you need your remix link, you simply go to File, copy remix link, and then you can share that link for handoff. So well done on completing the Get Started with Framer course. A big thank you for taking my course, and I appreciate you make it to the end. So let's just recap. So to recap, we've covered what Framer is, test published Framer site, covered Framer essentials and web design basics. Then we designed a Lo-Fi proposal using Framer, and then we turned that proposal into a Framer site. And then finally we published and shared a remix link. So where to next? Well, you can share your Framer site and tag me on social media, join the Framer community, and if you're looking for more Framer content, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel.